Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
the numbers that y'all was just looking at in the pages you're referring to, was that on what was emailed to us, I think?
No.
Was it something?
Irene gave these out last week. It's 2015 temporary, and it has 11, 17.
11/17 were emailed to you. Is that what you're asking? That was for the first meeting?
Mhm.
Yeah, those were emailed to you. Did you not receive it? I also printed it out. Do you need a copy or?
Yeah, if you, wait, let's see. That's it.
Irene Kevin emailed us over the weekend or Friday.
Okay, that was-
Documents from October.
Okay, that was the October. You referring to the budget or the financial statements?
The ones that you were just talking about with,
Kathy did those for you.
We have mine handwriting on it, temporary.
It's a 2015 temporary.
2000.
If you need another copy of it.
If you have one handy,
I don't have it handy.
you don't look at it.
I don't have a big copy of it. Kathy, do you have any extra ones?
Oh, here it is. Okay. So we're looking at the
Appropriations.
Irene, going over on that, in that same document, 1117, page 7, at this point in time, it might be appropriate to move the rainy day contingency fund, which we thought we might need for a rainy day. If we could move that over into the senior operation at this point.
The addition of 21,000, is that what you referred to?
Mhm.
Okay, we're talking about 14 or 15, because there's nothing budgeted in this budget for senior for 15, as of yet anyway.
Well, it's just a futuristic hope.
Okay,
Can we do that?
sure, we'll need probably
Yeah, but you're gonna put that in for 15, or you're gonna put that in for the remainder of 14, so that we could actually have it still running?
What would make more sense? Put it in 14, put it into 14, so we could finish out the year
Okay,
at
but I
least.
think we need legislation for that.
For that one, we probably do. Yep.
Madam Chair, I thought we were okay for 14, for the rest of 14. As far as,
Well, no, in 14, the city subsidizes the senior citizen, senior center. So this would just be replacing some of the money that the city subsidized the senior. And Linda helped me, I think the budget's about, what, 350,000, 400,000 total?
Yes.
And it's about 100,000 or so that comes in from the grants. So the other 200,000-300,000 is being subsidized by the city. So this would just help the city with that subsidy that is provided. Making sense? No?
So what do we have left in rainy day?
If we isolated the senior center budget, just senior center, there would probably be like about a $300,000 deficit. But the city puts it in, so actually this 21 will go back to the city to help with that $300,000.
The whole budget is same.
He says already this.
no, I'm just, and I'm going to think out loud here.
Either way, Mr. Jackson, it would, if you put it in the city's fund, it would subsidize the
I got that.
seniors. Okay,
Mhm.
all right, what's the question?
The question is, that 20,000 against the 300,000, or I don't know what the overtime is going to be for this, for the Thanksgiving fire per se. I don't know what that percentage would be or how that would hold out. But I guess I wouldn't want to see that $20,000 go to something that was, this is probably going to come out bad the way I'm going to say this, but it's not what I mean. It's not enough to make a big difference, I don't think. If it was going to finish off or be the $20,000 to, that was needed to fund something going forward, if all we needed was another 20 or the last 20 is one thing. And I still think, and we're just starting with the winter season, and if we do have a heavy winter and a plow breaks down, we're kind of back in the same spot of where do you get the emergency funds to fix it? So I know we're under extraordinary circumstances. I just want to be careful as not to get to the point where we don't have anything for an emergency. And I know people, and rightfully so, say, well, we're in an emergency situation now. I just want to be careful with it.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
the senior center expenses, as well as the fire department and all the other departments, are under the auspice of the general fund. Okay? So if you transfer money to the general fund, it's not restricted to go anywhere. You're just helping to pay the bills in the general fund. So we really could not restrict it to say the senior center and transfer it to the general fund, because all funds in the general fund are unrestricted. They're operational. So in this, under this general fund, you have the fire, you have the police, you have the mayor, all the administrative programs, you have service department, some service, not all of the service. But I'm just saying, so it's all in one big pot fund called the general fund. So the contingency is transferred to the general fund. It's just going to the general fund, you know what I mean? It's just going against the balance. It's not restricted for any particular program or department, I should say, because programs are not run out of the general fund. That's where you have your special revenue, the 200 series, those are programs for the most part.
It's just time to move the fund, I think. Personally, I think.
Right,
it's
but I'm
time
just
to
saying
move
it
the
just
fund.
goes to the general fund. It's not restricted for any given item, wherever.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
regarding the senior center, what is the net cost? We have it costs a certain amount of money, but a certain amount of it is offset. What is the net cost to operate all the functions of the senior center?
Okay, I think that what we had said is about $400,000, and $100,000 comes in from grant, roughly.
Uh-huh.
So it's 300. 400 minus 100, about 300
Right.
plus. That's the cost to the city, the 300.
Mhm.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam Chair.
that includes the recreation
Yes, the revenue.
as well. That's not exclusive of the senior center.
Thank you.
The numbers that were given for the 2015 projection were $364,000, and that included recreation.
So that would be, that's the net cost, offset already. So 364,000.
364,000, the recreation cost would be $48,381. Then off, so you take that off the 363, and then the 100,000. Is that correct, Irene?
Okay, if you look on page 2,
Uh,
it says, when you look at the 1170 appropriations,
And this is one that's dated 11/17.
yeah, they're probably the same, because I didn't rerun it. I didn't give you a new one for today, not the appropriations. So the appropriation that you have, it says 1117 at the bottom.
Okay,
Page 2,
okay.
these are the different departments that's all under the general fund. You'll see a department there that says recreation. Maybe about 4 lines down.
Mhm.
You see that? Where it says recreation?
Mhm.
Okay, those are all of the expenses under the recreation. And here is totaling projected $77,000 for 2014.
I was reading off the salaries and,
No, that's okay.
yeah, I was reading off
I'm
the
just saying,
salaries.
this way he can see for himself.
But included in that, Irene, is recreation, senior services, nutritional services, senior transportation, and home-delivered meals, if you want to be inclusive of the whole human services department.
Right, that whole
Right.
page for the most part, and that's what Linda was saying, is that, you know, these are all the different components. So
Right.
it just shows you can just add up each of these budgets to come up with the number. And
it's
then,
not
like I said, about
including food
100,000 comes in from grants.
It's not including food
The
pantry.
expense of the food pantry would be Evelyn Knuckles'
Right,
salary
but then,
and insurance on the building.
exactly.
That's inside nutrition services.
Correct.
So if we add up senior services, nutrition services, senior transportation, and home delivered meals, and then subtracted roughly $100,000, we have our number.
That's correct.
Other questions?
Well, Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I still have some issues with 2015 on the one dated 12/1, that some of the line items is dealing with the senior center and the meals and everything is not funded. And that still concerns and disturbs me a lot.
He's looking for this one right here.
Looking at the one dated 12/1.
That's the one with the black line, and you're on which page?
Page 1, and I think page,
Those are all zeros.
yeah.
Right, and that's what I was saying, that there was nothing budgeted in here, because I haven't got any direction or dollars to put in here. And I think it's disturbing to all of us. These songs.
Page 4 is some transportation programs. Yeah, that's, so talking about dollars being transferred to the general fund versus to one of these line items, to me is a big difference between those two things. I still think some numbers need to be coming up to fill in some of those line items on 15.
I'm a little confused now. Are you, I know, I understand you're not in favor of dispersing the rainy day fund because we might need it for snow plowing or overtime or whatever. But then you're saying that we should look at the blanks here for the senior center and fund it through the general fund? Is that what you're thinking? We could transfer the railroad money, correct?
If that can be done, then that would be.
It can be done.
Yeah, that,
Madam Chair, no, there's no money to transfer.
pardon?
The fund, those dollars are in the general.
They're
fund.
already in the general, I'm sorry, the word transfer was incorrect.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
already in the fund.
Right.
We were talking about transferring last week. Okay, so we could, with what we have looking forward right now, how long could the senior center function where we're at right now?
Okay, for 2014, it's probably like a done deal. I mean, it was already planned to subsidize the agency. For 2015, we would have to shift expenses. So this body would have to look at the 2015 appropriations and shift from there to wherever. But I'm just saying the bottom line really shouldn't change. So if we want to move something to the senior, then we have to reduce another line item, is what I'm saying.
Irene, you talking about the garbage fund and so forth. Take them out and put them into the general fund to operate the senior center for 20.
Yeah, we could do that. That would create some extra money.
Yeah.
So the surplus from the garbage fund then would be there. I mean, this guy, decide to do that. It would be there to subsidize instead of the other city funds that subsidizing the 350, it would be from there.
And that's 200,000, right?
Well, I think we just said that we need about 300. I mean, if you want to just,
$325,000.
if you want to just break even, that's what you would need.
Then
But
we'll have to go through and start shaving the loan.
Well,
Where
like I
we gonna
say, the
come up?
garbage fund, you know, we had discussed that, but yes, in order to have it help the senior, it would have to get moved to the general fund. But that would take legislation also. You really have to dissolve the special 251 or 251.
Yeah, we just can't designate it to the senior center.
No.
No, just in the
But
budget,
you'll have to
we'll put it
move-
back in
you'll
the
have to
budget to operate.
Dissolve that
Yeah.
fund and then have the garbage monies collected, like we do the building permits and all of that. They'll have to come through the general fund. And then,
Any suggestions where we can come up with the other 143,000?
I mean, you just, you know, just have to go down and look. I mean, that's instructive. You give me, I mean, that's a directive that I'm being given. I mean, I'll go back and look to see. I mean, we have some ideas where maybe
My neck's getting tired.
there could be something. And I know Linda's still working aggressively to look for other funding, so it may come, appear from something, I don't know. And then, you know, have to talk to her to see if she has anything going on to offset that.
Well, we on council, we can't. Recommendation of you and the mayor.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying if that's what the mayor wants me to do and this body's decided, and that is from the body, the council will have to do the legislation to dissolve the waste and collection fund and have those funds flow through the general fund.
Well, I'm thinking ahead, I'm thinking more layoffs, salary cuts, combining departments, half, part-time. We got to come up with 143,000 out of the budget for what we got to operate the senior center. That's what I'm saying. Where do we pull that money from?
Well, I think one thing that we need to do, Madam Chair? may I?
Yes, oh, absolutely.
My
Yeah.
recommendation, and of course, is to sit down with the director of the senior center, because maybe the senior center won't look like it looks now, so it may not need the same funding, you know.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
When you gonna do that?
Well, she was on holiday last week, but we plan to get together probably sometime this week or. I mean, just to see what it could look like.
Yeah,
It may look
yeah.
like something different in order to keep some operations going, which may not require the same monies.
Interesting. Okay.
Go ahead, Tony.
Madam Chair, I think the hot topic, I think that we need to resolve before we pass this budget, because we're just going to argue about it, is I know that council did not vote to include the garbage fund into the general fund because people had their own personal reasons for that. I think the $200,000, supposedly that's the extra money, isn't really extra, because what we're doing is we're paying some people out of the service department, maybe the secretarial, as well as some of the men that need to go out and do their dump fees and pick up garbage that the trucks won't pick up, as well as filtering phone calls. And I think that they should get paid out of that fund, because a portion of their time is doing that type of service to the city. If the entire fund is put into the city, and I think it was also per recommendation of the state auditor when they were here, the auditor's office, that there's not that many municipalities that actually have a separate fund for this. Am I mistaken when I heard that?
No, that's what I've heard, been my experience.
So I'm just wondering if possibly council could reconsider that, so that we would be able to just put it in the general fund and still be able to pay our bills, as well as support the service department, as well as any other department that has anything to do with trash, even if it's the fire department putting out a dumpster fire or something, you know. It still is related to the line item, I think.
Any comments on that, council?
Madam Chair, I think the primary issue with that is we can't try to make money off of collecting trash to offset other expenses. As it stands right now, from the estimates we've received, we're collecting about $200,000 more than we're spending on garbage removal with waste management. We are not going to come up with an itemized list of $200,000 worth of expenditures because of the service department doing this or the police department doing that in relation. Because if you think you're gonna come up with $200,000, you're mistaken. The fund itself has been established to collect garbage for 1, 2, and 3 family dwellings. Not to collect garbage throughout the city and the parks and these other places, so you can't use those against that money. This money's been set up for a particular reason, to try and make money off of collections for garbage collection from 1, 2, and 3 family dwellings to offset other costs is simply put illegal. You cannot do that.
We shouldn't have waste management pick up the trash in the parks and the containers, is that what you're saying? That's not part of
What I'm
we're
saying
paying them for?
is that the fee we assess our residents is for pickup at 1, 2, and 3 family dwellings. And that money is only to be used for pickup at the curb for 1, 2, and 3 family
You
dwellings.
read the contract?
I have, and I've read all of the ordinances. So it's very clear what it's set up for. To do something else would be mistaken and could cross over into the grounds of illegal.
But they're supposed to clean out at the bus stops and that.
Madam
the
Chair,
brown
for clarification,
containers,
can we
the brown.
consult Mr. Blair on his legal opinion on that issue?
Well, this has been debated. The finance director has already elicited the fact that she's reviewed this with the auditors that are here on a regular basis, and that's not problematic.
I just wanted that for the record. Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, Mayor?
that 200,000 to the finance director, is that going to accumulate even above 200,000?
Oh, yes. Like I say, if it doesn't get moved eventually, it's about 200 plus a year. It's not like a one time. That's annually.
So I guess my point is right now that's where it stands, but it will go higher. As, the cycle goes, the money will grow and sit there. So if it's within the choice of council to move some of that money to the general fund to help underwrite daily operations of the senior center, and the legal opinion is that it can be done, then you have an option if you would like to do that.
Madam President. First, I'd like to point out that the mayor is not offering to bring forward that legal legislation. If you're so confident of its true legality,
Oh, I'll have it for Wednesday.
then please do so.
Yeah, I'll have it for Wednesday, yeah.
Secondly,
That's not a
our
problem.
codified ordinances clearly outline that's to be a self-balancing fund. If there is an overage, if there is an amount accumulated, we're supposed to reduce next year's charge to our residents to get rid of that overage. So, and this is all very clearly laid out in section 1060 of our codified ordinances. I encourage you all to look at it, and you'll see exactly what that fund is for, how it's to be operated and funded.
Haven't said that, Bill.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was applauding him, so
Okay.
it's a
Thank you.
very good performance.
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Haven't said that, Bill. We still at 200,000. And that 200,000, we should put back to the general fund, like we're saying now. Instead of returning it to operate the senior center. We're in a rainy day now. It's pouring. To return it to each resident at this time, what, $3? And we lost by 55 votes. I think the right thing for council to do is to shift it over there for the senior center. I think that's the right thing to do for this city.
I think we need to rewrite the ordinance.
Madam President,
The mayor said he's gonna have the vote.
Mayor, go ahead.
I just want to make a clarification too, because, some of the things that have been said tonight are not accurate. We do pick up a lot of rubbish, trash from homes that is dumped on tree lawns by whoever owns the home and whoever they're renting it to. Our city dumpsters are filled with debris from contractors that are renovating homes in our neighborhoods. We've had that happen numerous times this year at Stafford Park, behind the maintenance building, behind the basketball courts. Also, that's happened at the service garage. We can't stop this. This is an ongoing process. And we pay out of the general fund to have this stuff removed. When our service department has to go out on the last thing they do for a day and remove a tree lawn full of debris and rubbish from a home renovator, that whatever dumping fee, because we have to take it either to our dumpster or we have to take it to Boyus, who charges us? And that money, because it's rubbish, it's trash, it's only logical to make the connection and use the trash money that's coming in to pay for that. It comes out of the general fund if we have to pay overtime for workers to do that. There's justification there. This happens weekly, all the time, constantly.
You know what, if we look at it also as a service, and it's part of the service that the residents expect. They expect their garbage to be picked up, they expect their leaves to be picked up, they expect the snow to be pushed off to the streets. They expect all of that service, and garbage collection is a part of that service. So why can't it be spread around? I don't quite understand why we want to limit just that one particular fund that comes in and pay people, what did you say, $3?
Yeah, but we already got the legal opinion that we can't transfer the money.
Right.
So why are we arguing about it?
I guess just trying to
Put
make
the
a point.
ordinance out there and let's
Trying to make
go
a
with it.
point. That's all.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Jackson.
I think the fund and everything was established through legislation. If we want to do something different, why not do it through legislation?
Of course.
Yeah,
Not a problem.
And then it may cut out some of the opinions back and forth or whatever, but I personally think that if people were given the choice of getting $3 or collectively putting that $3 toward human services, I would think that majority of people would put it toward the human services that the city provides. That's just my opinion.